Okay, so what you notice in this piece is that the Torah says, "Vayira elav Hashem." Hashem revealed Himself to him, and that's the beginning of the parsha. It doesn't mention Abraham's name. It doesn't say Vayira Hashem el Avraham. It says Vayira elav, to him. Okay, so what's the significance of that? So what he was saying was that a name was a really deep thing and very essential to a person, but it's only a name. And really, a person really exists in his full sense beyond their name. And what he's saying was that the Brit Milah was a covenant, was a pact that Abraham, entered into. And what happens when you make a covenant, it's beyond what is, beyond the words. It's like we're together on this, and that's it. And he's saying that's a big change that Abraham went through. That's why the parsha begins Vayira elav Hashem. The revelation was to him, wasn't to Abraham. Was to him. Was deeper than what a name can express. Now, the manifestation of that was what we see Abraham doing in the subsequent psukim. Abraham is sitting there in the burning hot sun and he's looking for guests, and so he finally sees somebody. He runs out and gets them. Right? What does that mean? That means he really, really wants to do this mitzvah. I mean, it's not just, oh, this is what I need to do. If it's just, well, this is what I need to do, then okay, if someone knocks on my door, I'll open it. But if it's something I really want to do, then I jump up and look for it. That change between having to do something and really wanting to do it is deep. It's not in a conscious place. It's really deep inside. Like all of a sudden, I want to. And the flow says that was a result of the Brit, because when the moment we got so close to Hashem that they're together, all of a sudden something changed in the inside. He really was running after guests. Shlomo also compares this to the difference between Torah Shebechtav and Torah Sheba'al Peh, the written Torah and the oral Torah. Okay, the written Torah is the words that are written in Torah. You look at it, you see it, there it is, you have it. But the oral Torah is an expression of a deeper understanding. It's not just what it says. You're saying, oh, what does this really, really mean? All these questions, all these expansions of the Torah. That came at this stage after the Brit Milah. Let's start from the paragraph that says Avraham Avinu. Page 118. Anyone who's watching this video, here's the book, new book published by Shlomo Katz. Okay. Avraham Avinu הכניס מן הסתם אורחים גם לפני שנכנס בברית עם השם. Probably Abraham took in guests before he had a brit. אבל רק עכשיו, only now, אחרי הברית, after he had the brit, גילה לו השם, Hashem revealed him, איך באמת מכניסים אורחים, how you really take in guests. ואחרי שהשם מגלה דבר כזה, after Hashem reveals such a thing, אי אפשר לנוח לרגע, you can't rest for a moment. אני מיד רץ ומחפש איפה האורחים שלי. I'm immediately running and saying, where are my guests? כמו שאם הייתה לי הזדמנות להרוויח הון גדול, if I had an opportunity to make a whole bunch of money, הייתי רץ ונרצה אותה, I would run to use that opportunity. לא הייתי משגיח כמה חם בחוץ, I wouldn't be worried how hot it is outside. זה הגילוי של השם בתחילת פרשת וירא. This is the revelation of Hashem in the beginning of the parsha. גילוי שמעבר לידיעה, a revelation that's beyond knowledge. עמוק יותר מן הידיעה, it's deeper than knowledge. בחינת תורה שבעל פה, it's the aspect of the oral Torah, the Torah that's beyond just the written word.
How did God reveal how to what he did?
That's the thing. That's the point saying he didn't tell him anything in words. He didn't tell him this is how you should do it.
Yeah.
What he did was give Abraham an internal connection, an internal desire to do Achasat Orchim. And once he got that, It was on autopilot. It's like, oh, I know what to do. Let's bring him in. Come in. You know? Now, Yitzchak Avinu v'hala itchil davar chadash. From Yitzchak and on, something new began. Amok mi'idiyah, which is deeper than knowledge. Kitzad yodim yuladim mihem hahorim shelahem. How do children know who their parents are? Imagine a situation. Sheyuladim lo yudim mihem hahorim adag yusrim ad sheyulamdim biologia or korim sfarim yusrim. Imagine that kids didn't know who their parents are until they're adults, and then they read, books on biology or something, and they figure out, oh, you must be my parents. Wow. Imagine that a universe like that. All of a sudden they meet their parents. How much do they love their parents? Very little, or if at all. Meaning, if your relationship with your parents just a piece of knowledge that just landed at your door.
There's a show like that, exactly.
Yeah,
last night, a twin of it, and the mother had basically told the kids, because he had not been a very good father, that he had died. So for 20 years, the kids thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And then the daughter was a writer, and she read the name, and she saw that he was a famous writer. And she was so mad at the mother and livid, and went to New York City to meet this famous author.
Yeah.
And she met him. He was a real jerk and disgusting. Yeah. And he said to them basically, "How much can I pay you? What do you need now?" And then she basically understood her mother. She came back and understood why her mother did what she did. Yeah. But it was a big revelation.
Right. People think like, oh.
They thought she would love him right away. And they said, let's hug each other. So she and the brother with special needs were hugging this pseudo-father. Yeah. And he was like ice and nothing. And then they realized, forget this hugging, forget this, let's go back to our mother who really loved us.
Right.
It's a really good movie.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
Now, yes, that's what he's saying. So where does it come from? This thing that kids love their parents. It's not because of intellectual knowledge. Yodim mihem horehem b'yidiyah muka sheme'ever l'seichel. It's deeper than intellect. It's אתם צריכים להתפלל שגם אחרי שהילדים שלנו ידעו איך הם נולדים וילדים, לא תיפגע אצלם הידיעה העמוקה הזו. He said something funny. He says, you need to pray that even after children get older and they understand how kids are born, they'll still maintain their childlike connection to who their parents are. But that's his point is that to show us there's a different type of knowledge. Okay. There's a knowledge that you just happen to know, okay, this person's my father, this person's my mother. And there's a knowledge that children have, which is just a very intense connection, that doesn't even have, conscious thought to it. And so, אני יכול לדעת את השם, כמו שאני יודע ענייני מדע. I can know God the same way that I know science. אני יכול לדעת את השם אפילו במדרגה של הר סיני, שהיא מדרגה עמוקה מאוד. I can also know Hashem, the level of Har Sinai, which was really high level revelation. ואברהם אבינו ידע את השם עוד יותר עמוק מכל זה. But the revelation of Avraham Avinu is even higher than all this, because he's trying to depict this picture of a knowledge that's not about words. It's just knows. That's it. ויראה עליו השם, לכן אברהם אבינו נקרא אבינו, כי הוא מסר לנו את היכולת לדעת השם כמו שילד יודע את הוריו. Because he gives a novel explanation why Abraham is called Abraham Avinu. Why is Abraham called our father? Not because he was a grandfather, because he is the one who enabled Jewish people after him to have this type of connection with Hashem that children have with their father, which is just is. You don't have to think about it too much. It's just there. So that's what we get from Avraham Avinu. Avraham, who teaches us about this relationship with Hashem. There's another deep point over here. Ne'emar, it says, Vayira elav Hashem. Hashem revealed himself to him. Rak elav, only to him. K'sheni asuk mildaber al tov v'ra, ani ponem kulam. When I want to talk about what's right and what's wrong, okay? I'm giving a speech about right and wrong. So when I talk to everybody, right and wrong is a pretty general thing. Some things are right, some things are wrong. And you put out something's forbidden, it's forbidden. The main thing of Judaism, the main thing of Avraham Avinu, the master of the world, okay. In addition to all the rules, which general rules that that humanity has, some things are okay, those things are not okay. In addition to that, Avraham has this thing of just talking to Hashem individually, not just what's for everybody. That's a love. Hashem revealed himself to him. It wasn't just general revelation. Avraham Avinu הגיע למדרגה גבוהה ביותר של אי ידיעה בעקדת יצחק. לא הכל אנחנו יודעים בחיים, לפעמים נדמה שהכל נגדנו. אבל בעקדת יצחק אברהם הרגיש שלא רק שהכל נגדו, וגם שהשם כביכול נגדו. Well, okay, so he says, he digresses into this thing of Akedah, the binding of Yitzchak. He says, imagine what Avraham Avinu felt at that point. He's feeling everything's going wrong. It doesn't make any sense. And not only is the world against me, God's against me too now. And I guess the worst feeling that someone can have. If a person has trouble with people, that's one thing, but feels that he's being rejected by God or just being, given bad lot by God. That's the most terrible feeling. And for some reason, Abraham was still able to stay strong, even in that state. So saying that again ties into the type of relationship that Abraham had. It was so deep that you wasn't able, you weren't able to mess with it. You weren't able to take it away because it was beyond words. He said, he quotes from the Ishbitzer. Rabbi Mishbitzer Omer, Torah Amukai, he says a deep Torah. כשהשם מנסה אותנו, when Hashem tests us, הוא לוקח מאיתנו את כל מה שאנחנו יודעים. He takes away from us all that we know. Okay? That's an interesting thing that people think that, if my mind is strong and I understand what my job is and I understand what's right and what's wrong, so I'll deal with everything. That's what people think. But the ironic thing of life is that, we 1 second we feel we know everything, and then a second later we feel we don't know anything. And like, I was so confident yesterday, what happened? Now I feel so weak and so empty, And the Ishbitzer says that's really the essence of a test. Because if Hashem's testing me when my mind is strong and I know what I'm doing, then it's not so much of a test. Just I know what I'm doing. The test is when all of a sudden that flies away. And I vaguely remember that once I believed in something. I vaguely remember I was once committed to something, but I hardly even remember now what it was, Avraham Avinu bikesh me'Hashem al tinaseh oti od. He says, please don't test me anymore. I can't handle this. B'vakasha aseh sheze yeh hanisayon ha'acharon sheli. Please make it that it should be my last test. U'itchanan he begged, ani lo yochol lechyot bli ha'yediah ha'elokit ha'mukar hazot. I can't live without the knowledge of God, the deep knowledge of God. כשאני רואה שהכל מתנגד לה, אני זקוק לה כל כך בכל רגע ורגע. Meaning, Abraham was, after the Akedah, Abraham was begging Hashem, please, I don't have a problem with tests per se, but I can't handle this of forgetting God. It's too hard. please make this the last time. Yeah. Kach saradnu bagalut ha'aruka. This is how we survived the long exile. Even though Hashem destroyed the Beit HaMikdash and exiled us from the land, we keep on coming back from Yerushalayim to Yerushalayim. He says, the Jews should have given up a long time ago. Naturally, exiles were done. Why is it that we keep on talking about Yerushalayim? So he says, we got that from Avraham Avinu, who was able to stay connected even though everything was against him. We got that. We got that as a spiritual inheritance. It says, and he saw the place from a distance. It means to say, Yerushalayim, the time where Yam Mirachok. Okay, so right, this is a description when Abraham and Yitzchak are traveling towards Yerushalayim, towards that occasion. He said he saw from the distance. So he's saying, Shlomo is saying it's not just, a description of geographic distance. What it means to say is he felt distance. That was the difficulty in the situation. He felt distant. That's what we got. Even when Hashem keeps us distant, so to speak. We're not able to turn our gaze from Yerushalayim. We have this thing of gazing from the distance.
What was it that made Avraham feel distant from Hashem?
Because he's saying because that's in the simple level is because he told him to do a crazy thing.
Yeah.
By itself is
like when you don't understand.
You don't understand.
How
can you do this to me? Right? So that must have been a terrible feeling. You see, it's a very difficult thing. If you feel, if I feel someone's doing something bad to me, and still be connected to them, it's very difficult. Unless like there's part of you that says, I don't know, whatever, we're connected. I don't know what's going on over here. It's really weird, but like we're connected. I think part of it is also being able to understand that what I'm experiencing right now or I'm seeing right now is not the whole picture. Keep on remembering that. Right now something is messed up. Something is not going well. But I have enough yeshuv adat. I have enough settledness that I can say it's not everything that's going on. There's more to it.
Just like the terrorist acts in Yerushalayim.
Yeah, Hashem should help. It's really very difficult. Yeah. Okay, so that's one piece over here.
So these were Torahs that Shlomo gave, and
over different periods of history, different periods of different years, and Shlomo Katz transcribed it from tapes, and then some.
Mona said she listens to them, and
and
she's part of this. That she's
part of the
doing
team.
this. Yeah, that there are a lot of tapes, and she's typing and putting it out.
Yeah.
Nice because the Hebrew is simple as well.
What?
It's actually simple Hebrew.
Yeah, this is really good. This is someone did a professional translation of those English classes, and it looks like they did a pretty good job.
When we talk about like Hashem asking to do something terrible and then feeling bad, but doing it anyway and knowing how to be the picture and trust. So it's very hard to do that. Like you think about doing something hard in your life and making a hard choice.
Yeah.
Or doing something not necessarily good for another person, but feel like it's the right thing to do. Like is that you do feel kind of not, I guess, angry or upset with Hashem that you're in this position.
Yeah, you have to make these type of choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Making terrible choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the things it says in the Torah says Vanochi haster astir panayim. One of the things, one of the last messages that Moshe gives to the people says, I want you to know that Hashem says, I will hide my face. Now, the fact that Hashem is saying, I will hide my face, is a very valuable piece of information, because that helps us deal with when Hashem is hiding himself. If I know ahead of time that this happens, it happens that Hashem hides himself, and it happens that I feel distant, it happens that I forgot everything I knew. And it's a game. It's like, there's a reason for it. It's a test. It's part of my growth. Sort of to begin with accepting that this is going to happen. Instead of expecting our life should be like a spiritual, party.
It's like, it'd be nice to know like what the steps are when you're in that position to at least have like a little peek into like what's wanted from us, what the right to make the following nature.
Yeah.
That's something hard to do.
Just 1 second, let's see. Some of the pictures from over there. Okay, let's see. Page 129. There's another Torah over there. Katuv etzel Avraham Avinu ve'ashkef al pnei Sodom. Okay, so what the Torah describes is the angels coming to tell Abraham and Sarah that, Mazel Tov, you can have a baby in a year from now, and then angels leave and they're going to Sodom, turn over Sodom.
What's Vayashkef?
Yashkef is he gazed. He stood someplace facing east, towards the Sodom, and he's gazing out towards Sodom. And then what happens is that Hashem says, I have to tell Avraham Avinu about what I'm going to do. Avraham is going to be this great nation. Avraham teaches his children, about kindness and justice. He's got to be in the know. So Hashem says, I'm turning over Sodom because they're really messed up. And Avraham goes ahead and has this whole long bargaining deal with Hashem. Says, maybe there's 50 righteous people. No. Maybe 45, maybe 30. And he keeps on trying to save the people of Sodom. Until Hashem says, no, sorry, Avraham, there's not enough righteous people there. So, okay, so the pasuk is, "Ve'ashkef al pnei Sodom." He looked out towards Sodom. Lashkif eino rak listakel. The word in Hebrew, lashkif, gazing, it's more than just looking. Ve'ashkef pirusho she'Avraham Avinu ממש התבונן פנימה וראה מעבר למראה החיצוני. Okay, the implication of the word yashkef is the gazing that sees beyond the superficial of whatever you're looking at. You see what it really is. Hamidash Omer, the Medrash says, Ma ra'ah. What was Avraham seeing? What was he seeing? He's looking, he's trying to understand. What did he see? Ra'ah David HaMelech. He saw David HaMelech. What does that mean? Because in the future, because the daughter of Lot begins the nation of Moab, and Ruth is from Moab, and Ruth is the grandmother of David HaMelech. So Abraham's looking deep into Sodom, and he sees David HaMelech. He saw the total degradation and decadence of Sodom. He also saw that somehow Mashiach is coming out of this Sodom. וכאן אני רוצה לספר לכם סיפור, here's a story. הייתה לי זכות ללמוד בלייקווד, הייתי רב אהרון קוטלר. Okay, so Reb Shlomo, when he was a young man, he went to the Lakewood Yeshiva, which is a Lithuanian-style yeshiva. Not too much Hasidus over there. Mishat Tafshin Vav, it's 1946. After the World War. Marlanu Reb Aaron Sharav Rashi Shel Tehran Megiel Yeshiva Shabbat. So he said, Reb Aaron Koller told the students that the chief rabbi of Tehran, Iran, is coming for Shabbos to the yeshiva. So Kulam Menichu Shu Rav Sfaradi. So everyone thought that this must be a Sephardic rabbi. So Sheknu Oto B'Cheder B'Pnimiyah Samuch Chedri. So they put him in a room in the dormitory. It was next to Shlomo's room. B'fnei Shabbat Nichnasti L'Chedro. Before Shabbat, I entered his room. And I see before me a Hasidic Jew with the shtreimel and white socks, the whole getup. So he told me he's a Hasid of bells. So he said, I immediately went to my room. I got him 3 Sfarim, Noam Elimelech, Mar Veshemesh, and Be'er Mayim Chaim. These are 3 very classic Hasidic works. Chassid bells chayav the Sfarim ha'elu b'aldeim u'lo yachol lekabel Shabbat. A Chassid bells needs these Sfarim, otherwise he's not going to be able to. Welcome Shabbos. הרב אמר לי, החזרת לי את נשמתי. שאלתי את עצמי איך אסדר כאן בישיבה של מתנגדים בלי הנאום אלימלך. You gave my soul back. I was wondering how I'm going to manage without the book of Noam Elimelech. כך נהיינו חברים טובים, we became good friends that way. הוא סיפר לי סיפור ארוך, he told me a long story, כיצד הגיע לטהרן ונהיה שם, נעשה שם רב ראשי. It's a whole long story how this Belz Chassid arrived in Tehran and became the chief rabbi. במוצאי שבת אירחנו סעודת מלאב המלכה. במוצאי שבת we made a מלאב המלכה meal. רב אהרון קיבל אותו מאוד, כי רב יהודים רבים באיראן. Iran respected him very much because he did cure with a lot of Jews in Iran. היהדות הייתה מאוד חסירה שם, והייתה לו השפעה רבה מאוד על יהודים. He had a lot of influence on the Jews in Iran. אחרי המלכה, השעה הייתה כבר 1 בלילה. פנה אליי הרב, אמר, אני מוכרח לספר לך סיפור, זה חיוב. הלכנו לטייל מסביב לאגם יפה בלייקווד, פתח ואמר, לפני שאני מספר לך את הסיפור, אתה צריך לתת לי תקיעת כף. אתה צריך להבטיח לי שכל פעם שתהיה לך הזדמנות לספר את הסיפור הזה, תספר אותו. So he says, I have a very important story to tell you. I really have to tell the story to you. But please promise me that after I tell you the story, you'll tell it over as often as you can. So he said, I wanted to make this deal with you because one reason was when my grandfather told me the story, told me the same thing, that he's telling me the story, but I have to tell it over often. So again, next page. מעולם לא הבנתי למה סבי התעקש כל כך שתמיד יספר את הסיפור הזה, ועכשיו אחרי השואה אני מבין למה הוא מתכוון. He said, I never understood why my grandfather, was so stubborn that I always tell the story, but now after the Holocaust, I understand a little bit more. So he said, okay, I'll tell you the story. Okay, I'll just tell it to you in English over here. Because 200 years ago, in a small village next to Lezhensk, there was a simple man by the name of Moishla. And Moishla had a krechma, which was a little inn. And in those days, Jews weren't allowed to do anything except for to die, as he says. And you weren't able to do, many ways of making a living. So really they got, not much to do besides for, the inns. They look at, selling liquor at these inns. And he says it was actually a dangerous job to run one of these inns. Why? Because, Ivan comes into the inn, he asks for whiskey, he pours him some whiskey, and again, Ivan's not paying yet. And he says, "Oh, I'll pay you before I leave." And he says, "Oh, okay." And then he drinks a whole bunch, and he's totally drunk. And then and says, Ivan, you got to pay for your 20 cups of whiskey. He says, "Well, you crazy? I just drank 2 or 3 or 4 maybe." And then he starts, beating the Moshel up. That was the regular way of, it goes in these ends. So what's he gonna do? So he just takes payment for 4. What is he gonna do? And then that, as far as the balancing the budget, that doesn't really work very well. So and eventually the Paritz was the landowner, was renting out this it's into the Jew. Usually, okay, throw him in jail or kill him or whatever it is. So this is it's a common story again and again. All the Hasidic stories about innkeepers who fell into hard times. So anyway, this Moshel, it hasn't paid rent for 2 years, and the Paritz says, "Listen, today's Monday. If you don't pay by next Monday, I'm going to kill you." And he meant it. So Moshel goes back. He tells his wife, "What am I going to do? How are you going to pay? We're really stuck." So he says, "I heard there's a rabbi by the name of Melech, which people go to, and they write letters with their problems, and he somehow helps." He says, "I don't know who this guy is, but might as well try, So this Moshel was very ignorant type of a guy. He hardly knew how to write, so he just took a big, huge piece of paper, and he wrote on the paper. He says, "Melech, I don't have any money to pay the parts. Please help me." So he says, he only had 1 pair of shoes, so he didn't want to wear his shoes so he shouldn't get worn out. He just hung them on his neck, and he started walking by foot to Lezhensk to go ask Rabbi Melech for help. On the way, he meets all the tzaddikim students of Rabbi Melech, Chosen Blin, Mendel Rimanov, Naftali Rupshitz, all of them great people on their own right. And they want to ask him, where are you going? So he says, "I'm going to Melech." He says, "Oh, we're all going to Melech. What you got in your hand?" He says, "Oh, that's a private letter." So he says, "Come on, can you show it to us?" He says, "I'd rather not, but okay, whatever. Yes, I'll show it. So the Chosen Lublin, he was called the Chosen, it was called a seer because he had this very unbelievable power of seeing things, which is totally frightening. Like you just be able to see things in other towns and see things that are going to happen. As I said before, he got that ability. He walked around for a couple of years with his eyes covered over, like he didn't want to see anything. And then he opened it up and he's like, able to see everything. Now, so when he read the letter, he understood what's going to happen. So he says, "Oh, Moshel, on Monday, next Monday, don't go to the street. Don't go out in the street because if the Paritz will see you, he'll kill you. I can see that. You can't be outside." So Moshel said, "Well, who are you? What are you telling me? I didn't ask you. I'm going to Melech. He's going to tell me." So, Moshel is continuing his way. He's already pretty upset at this response that he got, and the 3 tzaddikim are following, and they're very curious to see how the story is going to end. He comes to Rabbi Melech of Lezhensk, takes out his big letter. He says, "Melech, read this," and he says the tzaddikim knew how to read kvidlach. That's the whole art which they passed on from generation to generation, like how to read this, and then he looks at the letter and he says, Yaakov Yitzchak. Yaakov Yitzchak was the name of the Chosen. He says, "Yeah, I see you read this already, right?" So he says, "Okay." So he says, "Listen to me." He goes to Moshe and says, "Listen to me, please. Listen very well." So when the Paritz comes and asks you to stay at the inn and not leave, tell him that you're not going to stay unless he gives you 10,000 ruble. So Moshe says, what are you talking about? Like, he's about to kill me for not paying him. What's this about asking him for money? So he says, you're a crazy Rebbe. You're totally out of your mind. And he runs home and goes to his wife and says, this Rebbe is out of his mind. He gave me this crazy, piece of advice. So he said, I should ask the parents for 10,000 ruble. Anyway, he forgets the story. He just puts that out of his mind. Next Monday comes, he goes out on the street, and there comes the parrot on his horse with a big stick, and he says, where's the money? So he says, please, I don't have any money. So he gets off the horse, he starts whipping Moshe, terribly, terrible. He almost killed him, and it's like totally, beat him up. So he says, what happened was that the wife of this parrot happened to like this Moshe. They said it brings good luck. You can ask him questions like this. And actually liked having him around. So she said, where's my, this Moshe? He says, no, I don't know. He beat him up. He's probably dead. So he said, no, you can't do that. We need to have him around. So she's really, really upset at him, and she makes a whole scene and everything. And the parrot really wants to die. So the parrot says, okay, let's see what's going on with him. Maybe he's still alive. So he goes to see takes a sack of potatoes, goes to they make up with Moshe, they become friends again. So the Moshe sees that he's coming, so he's probably coming to kill me again. Oh man. So he's like closing the door, and he says, you can't come in. He locks the door, like to put cupboards on the doors. And then the parrot calls out from behind the door. He says, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just I want to be your friend again. I want to make up. So he said, I want you to stay. I want you to work for me. We really need to have you around. So then, at that moment, he just remembered this crazy conversation he had with Reb Melech. He said, oh no, I'm not staying unless you give me 10,000 rubles. And he says, obviously, this parrot's wife was, wore the pants in the house, so he had to give him 10,000 rubles, and so and then everything from there, things went well, and they flourished, and they were able to invest, and and that was amazing, the great Kretschmer of Moshe. Then one day his wife says, this whole thing happened because the Rebbe should go back and say thank you. So he goes and gets this carriage and gets this big present. I don't know what present he would give the Rebbe, but whatever. And he says, Melech worked, and so he's coming in there, and the Rebbe Melech is sitting there, and the Chosen Lublin was a student also sitting there, and the Rebbe says, you see, I was right. You thought that it's all about just, he's going to get beat up and that's it. But I saw beyond. And he told me, you saw till he got whipped. And I saw beyond the whipping. So that's the story. And it says, Shlomo says that. The rabbi of Tehran told him that after the Holocaust, he understood what the meaning of the story was about, being able to see after the whipping, meaning, it takes a really big type of tzaddik to be able to see what's next. That's not the whole story, which is what Avraham Avinu was doing, saying, "Wow, this Sodom was like the worst thing ever, worst people ever heard of." But after it's going to go the whole crisis, something's going to have to come out of it. And that was David HaMelech, meaning the ability to keep on looking.
So we learned from that when we have a hard time or when there's something devastating, that I guess it's the same thing in life, that you look beyond that.
Something's going to happen later.
Going to happen.
Yeah. I think
Rod said when we were learning the Tanya or something, that every time you take a step forward, you have to lift your foot as if you're like on a ladder, and you're in suspension.
Mhm.
So if you only think of the moment when your foot is in suspension, you'd be frightened and you won't continue.
Yeah.
But if you continue with that same step, the motion of moving forward, like on a ladder or over an abyss, then you
Yeah.
end up getting to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
I have something more simple that my friend once said she heard at the end of the movie. But I love it, and I always say it. It says, everything's good at the end, and if it's not good, it's not the end.
Right. Right.
So it's
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So
I
like
used to say,
saying,
I saw
my
his gift,
friends
Alice's
people
gift,
now.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
There's always something good at the end of what you're going through.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it's not the end.
There's not the end is the key. That's what
Yeah,
you're saying, you have to look further.
Yeah. Further.
There has to be another tale.
Yeah.
So I think you have to add that it's not the end with more chazaka, with like a seeker, make it more
Yeah.
emphatic, because that is a really good.
I didn't make it up.
No, but I mean, it's the same idea. That, basically that the trauma that's taking place, or that the lack of parnasa, or the lack of whatever it is, or, terrorism or horrible things, maybe as a result of, like the Akidat Yitzhak, or the sacrifice that these people made with their lives, they'll maybe reach the Beis Hamikdash, or maybe they'll be the next level,
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll take place.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we as human beings, we tell stories all the time. You have to really, particularly if it has a good ending, it's really what we're doing. We're framing the things that happen to us.
Because it's easier when you tell a story and you give a mushal than when you say, I say do this. No one likes to hear that.
Right.
That's very, aggressive behavior. But
Yeah.
when you do a mushal in a seaport,
Yeah.
it's much easier to accept.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, as far as accepting of things that happen to us, if I tell what happened to me, so I can tell it as a sad story that everything went wrong, or I can tell it as a sad story that something goes right after that. And it's really my choice about how I'm setting it up.
Right.
That's what how you look at history. Everybody interprets history differently. Like what does history mean? And so like for it's,
Like if you just look at
you
the
decide, yeah.
Then you think that everything is horrible and black and there's nothing. But then if you see Eretz Yisrael became in existence and that people came here, I don't know, and that maybe there's hope and there's life in the, Yerushalayim, and people coming and learning, and, I guess you obviously need to look further.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, particularly in the 20th century, the type of literature that became popular is sort of the opposite of this. Like, Kafka and stuff like that, where I tell this ridiculous story where everything goes wrong and it just ends up wrong, That's sort of like
The Zoloft generation, Prozac generation.
yeah, it's like let's tell a terrible story and leave it terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I think because people feel that that's real life.
Yeah, because there is a thing. Sometimes we try to whitewash things. We say, oh, it's it's not really terrible, and it is. Meaning this process he's describing is not saying it's not terrible. It is terrible, but there's something next. You have to be honest with every step of the way. Something is terrible. It's terrible. Let's look at it. But how's it end up?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge when things are bad, so not just